You're listening to All Things 3D, where we talk about the world of fabricating, designing, and capturing in the third dimension.
It's just you and your hands, completely free and immersed. With 6 degrees of freedom, state-of-the-art optics, and built-in audio. You can forget about wires, PCs, and phones. Oculus Quest is ready to play when you are. The headset relies on 4 ultra-wide angle sensors to map your environment as you navigate through it. And with Oculus Insight tracking, every move you make in the real world translates right into the game you're playing. Combine that with Oculus Touch controllers, and the game is at your fingertips. So when you grab, swing, or cast a spell, you'll feel the power of every gesture. The next level of VR gaming is finally here. Introducing Oculus Quest.
Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, for some people, it's evening, so good evening to those. Sorry for the late start today, but I wanted to go ahead and get a few things up and running for the 3D Tech Closet a little bit later. So, if you're tuning in, big news, I guess, this week was the Oculus Connect 5 and the announcement of the Oculus Quest, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But more importantly, there seems to be a lot of wireless solutions or alternatives. As you know, HTC Vive is not only announced, but is accepting pre-orders for their wireless unit. And you can actually order it on Amazon, which I have. I'm thinking it'll probably be in another couple of weeks. They say early October. So hopefully that'll be the case, and I'll be able to try it out for myself and see how it works out. But let's see what else we have in the news today. Well, a couple of things from earlier, and let's go. You know, I've talked about Reallusion's Character 3 for a while and actually done a few demos, but I find that this particular application is going to be very intriguing. I think it was, if you pre-ordered, $129, and you would also get their pipeline. So we'll go through it really quick. It's a very easy way to bring in their models, and keep that in mind. It's their models, but they have now a pipeline that works with DAZ 3D, and I'll jump right down to it. So if you're familiar with that, so if you want to quickly bring in models, now keep in mind with DAZ 3D, not all their models are public domain or for use in other applications. So you'll need to make sure not only with the models themselves, but with the clothing that they are, I would say, open source, but available for use royalty-free in your own applications, especially if you're going to be porting these over for your gaming use. Now, I'm pretty sure that if you just use the base characters in Character 3, that shouldn't be a problem. I had a quick chance to play with it last night, and it seems to work as advertised. I had one crash, but I think that had more to do with the fact is that I had limited C drive space, and I think I ran out of some dynamic temporary file locations. So I think once I clear that up, I think I shouldn't have any issues with it. But I was able to both create Unity and Unreal characters very quickly. If you're familiar with Character Creator, it creates PBR texture files and export them immediately, running them directly into Unity. I had no problems in creating, converting their animation and rigging to Unity's, and actually using some of the files that I had been working on in Unity directly to the models. So it seems to be working as advertised. Going through some of the features, let's see where we're at. You have game character LOD that seems to work as advertised. Again, I haven't put any real detailed work and efforts into this yet. I was also able to reduce the mesh file itself, or the number of vertices in the actual models. What else was I able to do? take and create one consolidated texture map, which is a neat feature. So again, a lot of it's just point and click. Again, I didn't work with any real efforts, but it does seem to be working as advertised. In fact, I think better than their previous versions. I did not purchase the iRay. If you've ever worked with iRay, it's not real time. It's obviously uses your NVIDIA card to increase performance, but it's not real time. So what I'm hoping for with either the Unreal or Unity engine to be able to take advantage of some of the new features in the GTX 2080 as well as the GTX 2070 for doing, word escapes me right now, but obviously if you've been following it, the ability to provide even more details and be able to create videos and so forth in a very quick, almost real-time manner would be very cool. Now, this is a feature that's very interesting, realistic 3D scan workflow. I don't know what that is yet. There's no information on it. So currently, if you want to buy it, it's, I think, $149 now for the pipeline. Oh, actually, it's gone up. Or obviously, if you're a member already, I think it's like $149. Or it's $199 for the pipeline, which includes the features to export out. And then the photorealistic bundle includes iRay for $249. And then you can get all the character essentials, which is more models, for $349. So they can nickel and dime you. The cool thing is the pipeline does allow you to import other models into it. So you can work with that and try that as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, so let's move on to, oh, I didn't actually put a link in here, so let's put a look. Is Views XR. As you know, I'm not a huge fan. I actually purchased their previous Views camera, their stereo camera. It was about $800, and I have to say the quality wasn't what I was expecting. So I'm a little leery on this product. It's a $439 360 camera, but also can convert into a VR 180. As their previous announcement with their Views camera, they had it for pre-order, and I thought it was almost like a year before they actually shipped. Hopefully that won't be the case here. They say valid to November 4th. I'm not very confident that this will actually ship before the holidays. I'll reach out to them, but I did tweet and no one has confirmed. So, you know, if you want a decent looking camera, there isn't anything out there, no other reviews on it, and I may request one, but in the past they've been very hesitant on providing cameras out before they actually ship them. But spec-wise, it looks fairly good. Some of the videos that I've seen on it are fairly decent. So, you know, I guess you get what you pay for. It is only $439. The cool feature, again, is the ability to flip out the cameras and do 180 and 5.7K. But I'm pretty sure that's 2.5 per camera. But that's still fairly good. And I do think that they're using a newer Sony camera for this. And, well, you can go out and take a look at it. So as soon as I see more information on it or more confident that they'll ship it early, I may go ahead and order one. I do like the 180 type stereo 180 type feature. I think that's a kind of a great what do you want to call it, compromise between full stereo 360 and stereo 180. And so with that being the case, it might be very interesting. Okay, let's move on to the first item in 3D technology. I thought this was kind of interesting. Actually, 3D fabricating heads so that you can improve MRI. This is at the University of Pittsburgh, which I have a little bit of experience with, or actually good and bad experience. But I think this is a really important decision. Instead of using humans, which, you know, obviously MRIs are not the safety issue as other items, but the fact is that we can put something in an MRI and test it. They talk about whole body Tesla magnet resonant imager, but I'm also assuming you could put sensors in here as well as tissue or materials that act like tissue in order to see how well the MRI production works. Also, I'm thinking sensors that determine the number of Roentgens or the magnetic field strength, since I still think it's kind of out in long-term future of what intense magnetic radiation does to you. So the fact is that we'll be able to measure it, I think is kind of cool. One of the things that they pointed out in this article is that they scanned several types of heads and brains, arteries, neck, ligaments, so forth, in order to be able to test the capability. So kind of neat. All right, moving on to the next item. I thought this was kind of interesting. If you're familiar with the term, I don't want to get it wrong. Well, as you know, Auto Accelerate has had some conferences, as well as something that we talked about before, generative design, which I thought to mean more about utilizing a certain type of, what do you want to call it, model, and then essentially regenerating it until you optimize it for strength without the cost of material. And here they have basically some iterations of it. But one of the things that is also talked about in here is utilizing Scrum processing in order to have small teams, and more importantly, to use some of these concepts in the design, but instead of 3D fabricating them, but providing that in standard tooling methods. So I'm wondering if there's still some 3D fabrication in order to create the molds, but I thought this was a very interesting direction that we're going now that 3D fabrication is kind of, I wouldn't say hit its maturity, but obviously we're seeing a lot of tools that can now be applied to other more legacy type design processes. So I thought that was kind of neat. Excuse me. So the next item, 3D in medicine. You may or may not have seen this. No, he doesn't have a hairdo. Essentially, this particular dog had a very bad tumor, but they were able to 3D print the skull. And there's a couple of articles here. This is the one in BGR that you can read in a nice little video. I didn't download, but we'll play it in here. But essentially, it gives you an idea. They created I want to say a titanium skull, but they obviously worked from, as you can see behind them, probably the DICOM created a 3D skull and probably shaped it in order to replace the skull portion. And here you can see the tumor. But I won't play too much of it. Wow, so that's kind of interesting. The tumor size on that was, where is that? So the fact is they were able to cut out the tumor and then replace the bone that they had with that piece there. And so that's the results. Actually, I think that's still with the tumor, so they don't actually have one. Let's look at the engineering article. Okay. Yep, so there we go. So obviously it has a decent scar, but that tumor has now been removed, and it still looks like it's, doesn't know what it's doing, but my wife kind of likes Dachshunds now, so I'll have to share this article with her. So it's kind of cool, and as you know, if you've been listening to this show for some time, Chris Kopak, my previous co-host, he has been working with a vet more for leg bones and hips and so forth. But clearly, the fact is that it's easier to get things approved for animals. We're probably going to see more and more of this. And always a good thing to see our little friends get some of the same technology capabilities that we're starting to see. Okay, moving on to the next item. Another kind of a 3D in medicine as well as VR. We've kind of talked about this company before. Lucid, I think, has been around since, gosh, when did I do that? Gosh, almost a decade now. They had come up with a way to hook up sensors, kind of an EEG type sensor type thing. In this case, they've converted it to a portable VR headset. It's more of a mobile unit that you slip a phone into, so it's not an all-in-one, so that you can actually read and record through their software what is going on as they're viewing a VR experience. So obviously you can get some tangible information now if you're wanting to put somebody through a PTSD situation, a phobia situation, and also provide that information back through neural feedback so that they're also aware of how much their body is reacting to a situation, and then providing methods in order to either calm or reason with oneself, and also to work with the patient, or if you're using this for research, to do multiple versions. So I think this is really neat. The only thing is it's kind of hard to say. Let's see where the product, it's about $2,000 if I remember correctly. And you get I guess an early bird discount. I've got a couple of videos. Go ahead and bring those up that I can show. Here's the first one.
Virtual reality enables people to truly immerse themselves into worlds that go beyond our wildest dreams. Understanding how these people interact with such environments can give us insights into human perception that have never been seen or captured before. Yet currently, these insights are hidden away in the darkness of the VR headset. I mean, it's not like you can really see where I'm looking right now, right? Wouldn't it be great if we could unveil where people look and what they think in VR? Lucid VR is the world's first VR headset to provide an interface for both the eyes and the brain. It comes with 6 miniaturized EEG sensors and 2 eye tracking cameras, packed in a slick and optimized design, making it comfortable for anyone to wear. Lucid VR's proprietary detection and tracking algorithm is capable of capturing vast amounts of eye information, from pupil dilation and movement to blinking data indexed in time series. It also uses a sophisticated noise reduction process to acquire robust EEG signals. No need to analyze contents and bioresponses in separate platforms anymore. Lucid VR keeps eye and brain signals synchronized with the content in time series, making it easier to access and analyze information. Lucid VR extracts human perception data out of the VR headset and puts it in your hands, giving you the key to explore the various depths and dimensions of human interactions in VR.
So as you could see, not only did you have the capability of monitoring EEG signals, but also eye tracking data. And they have a little more specs on the brainwave sensor and the eye tracking. But clearly, if you're able to record this, you can use this in research, which is the direction they're going to. Also, the fact that you're not dependent on a particular mobile VR environment, I think is also a nice idea. I don't know if the headset is going to be very mobile, but maybe in a research environment you don't really need it. And also, because you have to hook this up to a computer, you're not going to have the ability to have a lot of what do you want to call it, mobility as far as what you're using it for, unless you have like a backpack or some type of mobile capability. And let's see, we're pre-order. Where did I see the price on it? There we go. So it's on sale right now, $23.99. So if you're in research, it might be something to look at. I don't particularly have a need for something like that, but the fact is that you have both eye tracking as well as EEG capability, and you can record that into their software. Might be very important for some in doing research. All right, moving directly into VR now. As we talked about earlier, the Oculus Quest, I think the price is surprisingly great. As you can see there, it's going to be 6 degrees of freedom, inside out positional tracking, along with 2 controllers. So if you're familiar with the Microsoft WMR systems or the Daydream Lenovo Mirage, which does not have 6 degrees of freedom controllers, you already seen or have experienced what it's like to be able to walk around without having cameras or tracking systems that you have to set up beforehand. I think they're a great idea. The fact is, it looks, I think, fairly nice, is pretty cool. And, you know, as it being Oculus and they have some money because of Facebook, we're going to probably see a little more push in the Connect 5. And here we go, we can learn more about it, but I think we were already there. So, yeah. So there's already been a couple of, I wouldn't say reviews, but some people who were at Connect 5. My favorites, Ben out at Oculus, Road to VR did a review on it, which I'll get to in a moment. But some things that I've observed already and read about, I think that you have these 4 cameras here to provide both in front of you as well as below camera footage in order to provide tracking. I don't know if they're all consolidated together. Normally with Stereo Slam, you would have the dual pair. The fact that you have 2 below, and they don't all seem to be in the same angle as well as offsets. So I think there's probably a couple that are used for the controllers and then your standard forward-facing positional tracking, but I guess we'll find out more about that later. Some people are complaining about the ergonomics, but it makes sense with the rings. If you've used the WMR, the Microsoft WMR headsets, they have something similar because I'm going to think, I don't know if I saw any illumination. We have a video later on. If they don't have any visible illumination, then I think you probably have 2 IR cameras as well as 2 visible light cameras in this system. But again, I don't know that for a fact. And but that's what it provides, positional tracking. Ben says that the range of the controllers seem pretty good. Others have said that if you go too far back, you can lose tracking, which doesn't surprise me. Some people think that the battery period for these will be limited. They say that the battery's a little bit bigger. Also, it uses a Snapdragon 835, which is a little disappointing. But at $399, I can understand why they may be more price sensitive. I was hoping that it might be a Snapdragon 845 XR, but again, that would probably elevate the price, which, if you remember, if you've been either looked up at the price yourself, that's about what the Vive, actually the Vive Focus was, I think, $600 to $700. So the fact is that they've got this significantly less than that. May be a reason for that. And also the Vive Focus is an 835 Snapdragon chip as well. Now, keep in mind, Qualcomm does have an 845 reference, and there'll probably be models of that at the next CES in 2018, or excuse me, 2019. And so we may see other positional or inside-out mobile positional tracking systems. But the fact is that we have this and will be available, sadly, in the spring. My theory is they don't want to compete with the Oculus Go over the holiday season. Also, it may take that long for them to make this at any production level. And no idea, I've requested information from them if this will be available for developers. I don't know. Like many, you can email and get notified for more information. So I do have a couple of videos to show. I thought this one was kind of nice. And let's see if we can bring it up real quick. This was also...
There's something wrong, Captain. I need you in the cockpit now. That's impossible. Something's pulled us out of hyperspace.
You may wonder why I have brought you here.
So that'll be pretty cool, especially if you'll be able to use your controller like a lightsaber or whatever else you'll be able to do with it. My theory is they probably used some techniques that they learned using the open source Google Seurat that allows you to create fairly detailed models to be used in mobile. Plus, there are a lot of what do you want to call it, advances in both Unity and Unreal with their pipelines for mobile use by reducing but still keeping your models with enough detail. But obviously, there are a lot more tools available that I had more mentioned in my little paragraph that I put in something. Let me jump out to, sorry, I've lost my trend there. I mentioned I was going to talk about Ben Lang's article. Go out and take a look at it. He did a pretty good job, and I've pretty much relied. He basically tells it like it is. He does seem to have a lot of experience with VR, and so go out and take a look at that. There was one other video that I saw on YouTube that you can go out and see for yourself. This was by...
Hey everyone, welcome. Sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Gabor Sauer. I'm a developer.
This was Engadget.
Earlier this year, Oculus released its first ever standalone headset. It released its most a Rift-compatible head thanks to 4 lines. It was developed surrounding me, Vader Immortal, 54 gigabytes. Surrounding me with a lot more immersive library as well. For a team of people in a simulated.
So they had a full setup there that allowed you to play multiplayer behind boxes. And my theory is the reason why you see all the graphics on this is with a lot of these SLAM systems, you need a lot of distinct contrast in objects as well as patterns and so forth. So I think they not only put boxes in there to be used to allow you to hide behind, but it also breaks up a large space. So I think that's one of the reasons it's done, plus to create a unique setting. Let's see if we can scroll through it a little bit. Yeah, there you can see a much larger area, and there's multiple people playing in it. But again, I think we have this in here in order to ensure that the positional tracking is stable. Notice they've also have images on the outside surfaces, again, to break up things. And I'm wondering if these are beacons. If you notice in the corner there, they may also be providing some type of illumination, again, to provide stable tracking. One of the things that was mentioned in one of the articles, or somebody had made a point, that this is not to be used outdoors. I personally feel it's because it's not as reliable unless you have, again, a lot of distinct features. And if you've, again, watched my show, you know that I've taken a Microsoft WMR with my, as I call it, my belt pack using a Nook. And I was able to, at least in my own backyard, walk around comfortably. The same thing with the Lenovo Mirage. Again, you need distinct patterns and features. So if you plan to go out to a parking lot, I think you'll be disappointed. So I think this would be a really cool idea, and obviously it gives a lot of people some ideas of creating arcades like this. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, no one knows for sure the battery life on this, if it's 2 or 3 hours, but with my own experience with the Oculus Go, I've got a belt pack attachment with a hard drive, which I don't know if they've got the new Go firmware updated yet, so I'll have to take a look at that. But one of the things that was supposed to be provided with that is the ability to actually use hard drives. So I'm ready to go with that. So I've got a battery pack and that I just attached to my belt, and it gives me about 2 or 3 hours extra on my Oculus Go. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see something like that in order to improve the battery life on these things. And since we know now that the Magic Leap Creator 1 has the ability to allow you to put something on your belt, maybe that will make it okay for everybody to do that. Don't know. The other thing that if you're a developer, they have,
Relations engineer here at Oculus,
a lot of the details on it, but there's already a number of videos out there to show you how to bring your projects from, let's say, Unity or Unreal directly into Quest and some of the things to look for. So I think that's cool that they're already putting out lessons or what do you want to call it? Some of the talks that are available at Connect 5 out on the web, and there's already material showing up on Oculus of how to move forward with that. I just wish that they would have some pre-sales or pre-orders for the developer version of this, because it's one thing to develop, it's another thing to actually work with it in the headset. But we'll see on that, and like I said, there's a lot of good information now to get an idea. If you didn't get a chance to go to Connect 5, sadly, I'm on a budget right now and didn't know if it would be worth it, and luckily there's a lot of information. So good information out there. Basically, as they're saying here, what you can do on a Rift, what you can do on an Oculus Quest, and if you remember our early conversation with Character Creator, that might be a good role for this because it's basically set up to reduce the polygons and consolidate textures, decrease the size, all with a bunch of snaps, and then you can bring these in fully rigged and animate either through their system, which they're now have a number of systems like motion capture, facial capture, that can be done directly in Character Creator, and then you can export it out. So I think it's a very reasonable price. I've already purchased it, so if you're going to be doing this, and obviously using it for mobile or the Oculus Quest, this might be something to look at. Otherwise, you're going to have to do it all by hand. Okay, where are we at now? I kind of jumped over the scanner. Did I not put it in there? All right, let me see real quick. Shoot, I missed it. Let's see if okay, actually. Okay, one more item. So I thought this was kind of neat. As you know, if you've been following me, I had actually designed a orthotics scanning application for the structure sensor on the iPad. So I thought this was kind of interesting. So let me jump to my desktop. And I actually have a video, so we'll go ahead and show the video first. So we probably don't have any audio, but you should get a good sense. What I think is kind of neat here is that not only do they have a scanner, but they also determine the impression. For instance, if you're an athlete or a runner, how much force you actually have, and you can, using those transducer pads, be able to determine how much support you actually require in your arch and so forth. And then as you can see, they're very expensive, but from what I heard, very nice 3D fabrication printers. So I think that's pretty good that they've done that. So let me jump back to my main screen. And we can scroll down a little bit. So they're working with FitStation. Basically, you go in a store, you use a 3D dynamic scanning, data analysis, and then shoe recommendations, and then they send it out and then come back in. I have not tried these. I'm not a runner anymore. So somebody out there has some feedback yet. So I don't know if let's go back to the slide. So it's interesting, their scanner unit. It's not going to let me go back. There we go. So you've got the actual scanning portion. And this is similar to a system that I've seen before. You have a scanning head that just basically scans the bottom of your foot. And then you have this plate technology that measures through, what is this, at 500 precise measurements per second, the impression, and then you combine, and then you print it. So I don't know how much it cost. There's several locations. Where did it have? Yeah. See if it comes up. There we go. So here are the locations. So if you live anywhere near this, I don't know if there's anything here in Oregon. I don't see anything. So, but there's many, a number of locations in California. Oh, well, actually, I guess I could jump up to Seattle. So if they get one here, I'll try it out. But if you're interested in that, go ahead and pursue that. All right, so finally to our 3D tech closet. So I'll jump to my laptop. And actually, I have a few items to show before that. So what I've decided through some tips from a 3D professional as well as my own experience, I'm going to be talking about Google Resonance Audio, mainly because it's one of the more popular 3D audio packages, and also one of the more easiest packages. And they have plugins that are available in Unreal as well as Unity. The plugin for Unity you have to download first, and so I've already taken care of that, so we'll be able to go through it very quickly. And also the newer versions of Unity have the ability to import ambisonic sound directly. So even if you're not using one of these 3D audio packages, you can still bring the ambisonic sound in, and it will still, and I'll show you in a moment. It does, well, I think I was doing a couple of things. So there's a little bit of time that it takes in order to do it. So what I want to do is go through the workflow real quick. So if you're in Unity, it's pretty easy. Basically, you download it, and let's see, did I include it? No, that was for something else. You download it, and they give you the links to it, so you can just follow this through. Create a project, or they've got a demo scene that you can bring up. You identify how to set it up, and then what you want to use is your ambisonic decoder plugin. So we're going to go through that real quick ourselves. And then you try out the Resonance Audio demo, which I also have up and running. And then it talks about the audio components. So if you follow this item by item, it's pretty easy. If you're already using GVR, just replace it with this. I haven't been, so it should be fairly straightforward. So with that being said, I'll just jump to my laptop. It should be behind me. There we go. Change it over to a different mouse. And I have it on AC, so I shouldn't run out of battery. Okay, so like I said, I had already loaded it. If you can see down here, I did a backyard ambient sound source from my Zoom H2N. Brought it into what tool? I think this is raw. So I didn't really have to do anything. So I just made the file, brought it directly into Unity, and essentially saw that it was a 4-channel audio source. I went over and checked that it's an ambisonic, and I'm ready. So I should be able to just drop this in. And now I have an ambisonic sound. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Make sure I get the right keyboard. Oh, that's right. I connected it to the cube room. I should have done this. All right, let me go back there. Let's bring it over here. There. Now it's an independent sound source. I'll just put it in the middle of the room here. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear this if I play it. So then obviously you can go through here and set it up like your previous systems. Since it's not a stereo source, we'll just turn it into a 3D source. And before that, let's make sure we're set up correctly. So let's go to Edit, Project Settings, Audio, and we go over here, Default Mode, so we can determine our mode. Spatializer, yes, I already have it set up for Resonance Audio. You could say none. There's a Microsoft version and then the Oculus Spatializer. Like I said, I did load the plugin previously, so we do have that capability, and the decoder plugin, also the Resonance Audio. So I'm pretty much ready to go. So if I wanted to, I could just click on this. Let's see what happens. Do we have some audio? Let's see. I can monitor it myself. Yeah, I don't know if it's coming through or not. No, I guess it is there. So notice as I get, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. So there should be some, I don't hear the, well, I hear myself. So there may not be any audio. But if you run the demo in it, you can obviously move the cube around. And then notice as I look at it, but it does seem to work pretty good. And as you move near it, you can use your WASD keys. The sound gets louder, but more importantly, it accurately models its positioning in space. And if you can't hear it, it does work, trust me. And also the ambisonic sound should be there and also working. And since I put it in the middle of the room, I should also see something similar to that. All right, so let me jump out of that. Yeah. But this is something that's built into the project. I'm getting a little bit of an echo, so let me drop out of that. And so it's best to try this and test it out. And again, go back to the instructions. They're fairly straightforward. The only thing is you got to make sure that you set up in your project that you're using this as your ambisonic, I'm going to call it simulator. And once that's done, you should be able to go back. Here we have different voices. Let's see, here we have the cube room environment. And then we can also go through here and determine our materials, which is kind of cool. You can have, let's see if let's show up here, one of these items. There we go. No. Here. So here we can basically determine what this environment is set up with, concrete walls, a floor. So you have different surfaces, just like you have with textures, that you can have different ambient or audio properties to. And then you can also set up reverbs, and then you can actually set up reverb, kind of like reflector spheres. You can do something like that here as well, so you can make it more complicated. And so let's say if I pull this down, this gives you a list of the different items. So if you bring in 3D objects, you can assign something to them. Let's see, what do we have here? I did this with a human. What did I pick? Maybe, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what I picked. Well, you can go through it. And then I think you can also create your own customs, but I haven't tried it. So that'll get you started, and then basically test it out with a pair of headsets. And I think you'll be fairly pleased with it. It's very easy to work with, and I haven't done a lot of work with, but an audio expert has that I've talked to, and he says it's more efficient, seems to perform better. And so, like I said, if you can set it up pretty quickly and get great results with, that's all I'm looking for. All right, let's look into Unreal real quick. So I don't know what we'll be able to see here. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. And I'll go ahead and save it. Okay, so Unreal, you don't have to actually download anything. Just go to your settings, your plugins, and then go to, I believe it was audio. And then there it is. And I actually had this one set up already. And then just plug it in. I would go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and disable the Steam. So I'm going to have to restart. Shouldn't take too long. But I found that if you don't set up the Steam correctly, or if you move your files and don't remember to bring, you essentially do a capture, like a baking process. And if you don't bring that file in, it will actually cause your system to crash. So with this, I don't think it's as difficult. So once we have the plugin enabled, we need to go over to our, couple of ways you can do this, but I'll just go to the package settings and then go down to audio, or the resonance audio, determine your quality. And then let's see, there's one more other area if I remember correctly. I think if we're going to be setting this up for Windows, yeah. There, we select our audio device. Well, we don't necessarily have to do that. Well, we'll go ahead. We'll select the speakers, and then I'll just choose the resonance audio here. And then your reverb, the same thing. And then your occlusion, just use the built-in occlusion. And that's pretty much it. Or you can determine some of the other features there, but I'm not going to use the built-in one, not the Steam. Okay, so we should be set up there, so we can close that. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't think you have a separate device. But on that note, we're going to go back to our notes here and go to, and this is how to do what I just did with the Ambisonic. So I have that link in the show notes as well. So here we are for Unreal. So it says create a project, or you can just drop in the plugin. So here we bring in, set up the plugin. And then you open up your settings, plugin, right, general tag, quality mode, and we already had set that up. And then, so it says you can go into content starter blueprints. So if we go into our starter content, oh, it's just wanting to bring up a flame. And then you can bring that up. And then we have audio. So I already have a number of audio systems in here, so I'm not going to do anything with that. And I'll show you what to do in a moment, but we'll leave this up. And we'll jump back to the computer. So let's take this little source here. I have it, and let's go down here. And what you want to do is go in and change. Where's it at? Allow spatialization. No, I can't find it. Yeah. Go to attenuation spatialization and go to binaural. And then you can use some of these features. It's best again to test it out and see if you're actually getting the results that you want. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in that one Ambisonic file so that you can see how that imports. So let's go to my D drive, my audio files. So backyard ambient wave. Now, that was interesting. There we go. No. Well, that's interesting. Okay, well, I'll have to get back to it on that one for you, but essentially, you have your speaker item here, and then you can essentially play it. And I do hear some audio, but I don't know if it's moving over. Actually, it's just coming through here. So I'll go back and change my audio source real quick. And let's drop through and do that. See if that'll come through. And hit play. And let's see, do we have some audio? We should have some audio. Nope. So it must be going to the monitor. Oh, that's right, because I'm using DisplayPort. All right, so it's going through HDMI, and I am not using an HDMI source, so we're probably not hearing it. So again, that's how you set up the Resonance Audio, and then obviously the show notes will have the link to go out, and I don't know why it did not bring in my AmbiX file. So I'll have to look into that and report back next week. So I apologize for that. Okay, so that's about it. As you can see, it's gotten a lot easier to do this stuff. And I'll just jump back to the steps there. So this one is setting up a sound from, but I had already set up a lot of sounds in my, what did I call it, Breath of the Forest earlier. Here we go. So if we wanted to do ambisonic playback with first order, so I don't know why it didn't come in. So okay, so let's see. Yeah, so let's try that. Import. Huh. So don't have an answer for it right now. Should have brought it in. There may have been an issue. Like I said, I did import it into Unity with no problem. So I'll have to go back and see what the problem is. Oh, well. On that note, I think that's about it. I will come back, or at least provide some notes at the end of this if I solve it. But I won't take any more of your time. And all the links to doing our Google Resonance Audio will be in the show notes. As you can see, it's fairly easy to set up in both Unity and Unreal, but most importantly, test it out before building it and deploying your app. Most of them have fairly good representations and headsets while you're in the game engine before you actually build it out. But I would probably do several iterations before finally releasing it. Okay, on that note, I think I'm going to say goodbye for the day, and I will check back probably in about a couple of weeks, and we'll hit the next chapter on this. And so I guess what I want to do is do a full, complete package and full demo using the Unreal Engine with 3D audio. And, oh, almost forgot, I'm going to go ahead and play this real quick. I did this, and I think I'm going to do a little bit more work. I've been working with some shaders in Unity and playing around with AR Core. And so this is something that I tinkered with, so have fun with it.
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style. Sexy lady. Oppan Gangnam Style.